All right, today we're diving into something fascinating. We're talking about how you give a massive, sprawling seaport a complete 21st century brain transplant. This is the story of the Rades terminal transformation, and trust me, it's a good one.
So just think about it for a second. Every single day, you have thousands of these massive steel containers arriving on ships. They got to be unloaded, stored somewhere, then loaded onto trucks. How in the world do you manage that incredible dance of machinery without it just becoming total gridlock? Well, that was the exact question facing a major port over in Tunisia.
Okay, let's set the scene. We're talking about the Rades container terminal. Now, this place is a huge deal for Tunisia. It's a vital gateway for trade, and the flow of goods through this one port can literally affect the entire country's economy. And, as you can imagine, it was under some serious pressure to perform.
And just to give you an idea of the sheer scale here, the terminal itself is 50 hectares. That's about the size of 70 soccer fields. The dock, or the quay, is over 1 kilometer long. And to move all the boxes, they have this fleet of 35 huge machines they call container handling equipment, or CHEs. We're talking about those giant cranes, the big stackers, the whole shebang. So yeah, managing all that is a logistical nightmare.
So the core problem was, on the surface, pretty simple. How do you get way more efficient without actually slowing things down in the process? But that is an incredibly hard problem to solve. And the answer wasn't just, bigger cranes or more trucks. The answer was a new brain, a really sophisticated piece of software called a terminal operating system, or TOS, that would give them total visibility and control over every single thing happening in that port, all in real time. And let's be clear, this digital upgrade wasn't just some minor IT project. No way. This was about fundamentally rewiring the port's entire operational DNA. It was a huge leap from these old, fragmented, manual ways of doing things to one single, intelligent, central system.
The best way to think about a terminal operating system is to picture an air traffic control tower at a busy airport. It's basically that, but for a seaport. The TOS plans, it tracks, and it directs the movement of every single container. It's the system that decides which ship gets to dock where, which crane is going to unload it, exactly where that container gets stored in the yard, and precisely when a truck can show up to grab it. It's the master brain of the whole operation.
So the wish list for this new system was pretty ambitious. They wanted one central plan for where all the ships would dock. They needed real-time equipment allocation, so the right crane is always in the right place at the right time. They wanted much smarter inventory management. And a huge push was to finally go paperless. Because ultimately, the real goals were to slash the amount of time ships had to spend waiting in port and to get way more work out of all that expensive equipment. Now, here's the thing. You can have the most powerful, most advanced software on the planet, right? But it's pretty much useless if you don't have the right people and an absolutely bulletproof plan to implement it. This upgrade wasn't about just plugging in a new server. It took a super dedicated team and a really rigorous testing process to bring this new digital brain to life. To make sure things didn't descend into chaos, the rollout was planned down to the minute. It started with this deep analysis and configuration phase. Then, they took the system into a lab and just hammered it with countless virtual scenarios, stress testing everything. Only after it passed all those tests did they dare move it out into the actual yard for testing on live equipment. That was the final, crucial step before flipping the big switch. Now this is where it gets really clever. This is kind of the secret sauce of the whole system. Instead of trying to do the impossible, like putting a tracking sensor on every single one of the millions of containers that go through the port, they did something way smarter. They tracked the 35 pieces of equipment that move the containers. See, by knowing exactly where a crane is and when its locks engage a container, the system can virtually tag and track every single box. It's genius. And this couldn't have been pulled off by just a bunch of techies. The team was this perfect mix of different skills. You had your project managers, of course, keeping everything on schedule. You had a small but mighty IT team of 3 specialists handling all the tech. And, this is so important, you had 8 super users.
These were the operators, the people with years of on-the-ground, real-world experience, and their knowledge was absolutely vital for testing the system and then training everybody else. So all of that preparation, all that testing, all that training, it all led to this one incredibly high-stakes moment: the go live. This is the point of no return. It's when you shut off the old system for good and just pray that the new one boots up correctly. For a port that literally never sleeps, this was a moment of unbelievable tension. And get this, they had a window of just 48 hours. That's it, 2 days. In that time, they had to bring the entire 50-hectare terminal to a dead stop, do a complete physical inventory of every single container sitting in the yard, and then reboot the whole operation on a brand new system. The pressure was just immense. And here's how that crazy weekend played out. On November 30th at high noon, everything just stopped. The whole port went silent. For the next 19 hours, teams were swarming the yard, counting, checking, verifying every container. Then, at 7 a.m. the next morning, Phase 1 kicked off. The ship started moving again, all running on the new system. A full day later, Phase 2 went live, bringing the truck gates and the rest of the yard online. It was this carefully choreographed, totally nerve-wracking launch sequence. So the big question is, after all that meticulous preparation and that nail-biter of a launch, did the gamble actually pay off? How did this massive upgrade change the day-to-day reality at the port? Oh yeah, it paid off. Big time. The results were immediate, and they were dramatic. Truck turnaround times, that's how long it takes a truck to get in, get its container, and get out, were slashed. That meant less traffic jams, less congestion, even less pollution. And when you have a smoother, more predictable operation like that, guess what? Your customer service and partner satisfaction go through the roof. And this right here illustrates one of the most powerful things that happened. The go live wasn't the finish line, not even close. It was actually the starting gun for a whole new way of working. Because now, with the system turning out tons of useful data, the team could get into this constant cycle of improvement. Analyze the data, figure out how to get better, and then train the team on the new, smarter procedures. The port actually became a learning organization. So the story of the Rades terminal is just a fantastic example of what real digital transformation looks like. And it leaves us with this huge, fascinating question to chew on. If just one port can get this efficient by upgrading its brain, what happens when all the major ports and the shipping lines and the trucking companies are all connected and thinking together in real time? What does that future look like for the way we move things around the world?